Hello, everyone. My name is Meg from Brighton SU, and today I'm interviewing the amazing Doug from the University of Brighton Sustainability Team. So, Doug, if you wouldn't mind, please can you introduce yourself?
So I'm Doug Gregg. I'm the Environmental Project Assistant in the Sustainability team since February 2020. So I've been kind of working on sea change projects throughout the year, things like the Green Week stuff you're doing at the moment, the reuse project. So I started studying originally at the university in September 2015, so quite a long time ago. I did my geography degree and then a master's degree in geographical information systems and environmental management. So it's been here about 5.5 years, which seems like a really long time. So this year we've had been a bit different working for the university because of COVID. We've had a lot of changes, everybody working from home, everything being online. Things like the reuse project, we had to really kind of adapt that. We were planning it throughout February and March, and then everything kind of went a bit haywire and everybody was at home. But we still managed to collect £4,000 worth of donations. So it was a real positive campaign. I've also done the Environmental Award for 2 cycles now, so summer and winter of the last year. It was really, really great. We had some really, really cool applications, and it's great to kind of see some of the work that's going on across the university as well.
That sounds amazing. Do you mind explaining what sea change is for everyone who doesn't know?
So Sea Change is the University of Brighton's sustainability engagement campaign. The sustainability team kind of looks at things like the environment management, looks at kind of data, travel policies, that sort of thing. And Sea Change is what you'll see on campus with things like cup recycling campaigns. Normally things like the smoothie bike, you might see the travel survey sometimes it's being done by Sea Change ambassadors. So it's really kind of the face of the sustainability campaign.
Yeah, amazing. So, as you said, you've been involved at Brighton for 5.5 years. So, particularly in the job you're in now, what have you enjoyed the most about the role, and also what have you found the most challenging?
So it's been really, really great to kind of develop my skills and my knowledge of kind of sustainability and applying what I've learned at university into the workplace. It is quite difficult, there's quite a difference between knowing something and actually being able to use something. Even though my course is really great. I've just learned a whole lot more, and I've been able to apply things a lot. I also joined like a really experienced, knowledgeable team, so that's been really, really helpful. Being able to draw on somebody else's expertise. Um, Everybody I think is quite experienced within the team, so they kind of were able to kind of help me work out if I had any weaknesses, if I needed to improve anything in myself, and actually kind of guide that change. When talking about challenges, we can't really avoid COVID. So I joined in February 2020, and we were working as usual in the office until March, and then we all went into lockdown, which was quite unexpected. So we've had to adapt things like the communications, things like the working processes. I think it's been a bit of a working curve for everybody, though. For me in particular, it's quite difficult being a recent graduate, new to a team, and also adapted to lockdown, kind of three big things all at the same time. But I think, COVID's a really good example for me going forwards of how I can adapt to different situations, at quite unexpected situations as well. So it's really great when I'm applying for kind of more roles in the future.
Yeah, that's really interesting. I guess talking about COVID and everything to do with COVID, how do you think COVID's helped the environment, or do you think it's affected it in a negative way? Because I know it's a debate at the moment whether, you know, it's helped because obviously we haven't been traveling as much, everyone's been at home. But then at the same time, when lockdown eases, everyone's going to be back again, like at full steam ahead, using transport. And I know as well, like people using plastic forks again and that kind of thing instead of reusable forks because, it's we don't want to be catching germs in COVID time. So yeah, do you think it's been positive or negative or?
I think COVID is probably going to be quite a mixed bag moving forwards. We were seeing kind of quite maybe a shift towards more sustainable behaviours with things like car sharing, using the buses, using things like reusable cups, and then we were all suddenly told you can't car share, avoid the buses, don't use reusables. So I think we're going to have a lot of like kind of challenges as sustainability professionals who kind of advocate for these things, to kind of reform the behaviours, because actually any habits which are formed have potentially been broken, and actually it's restoring trust in things like that. So actually people then know that it is safe to use things like reusables. COVID has actually been quite interesting in terms of like travel. We saw kind of nobody commuting throughout kind of spring. And I was involved in a piece of research with some lecturers at Brighton, looking at the effect that lockdown had on air quality within the southeast region. And we saw that kind of certain pollutants really dropped, so things like nitrogen oxides, but other pollutants, which would be things like ultrafine particles, which can get really into your lungs, they actually increased. So actually, even looking at travel, it's not necessarily all a positive that we've had from it. So yeah, I think going forward, we're going to find some new challenges to kind of tackle sustainability. I think it's been quite difficult to kind of see where we're at until we are back to normal, to see kind of which behaviours have been broken and what kind of needs to be reformed.
Yeah, definitely. It's going to be really interesting. I'm sure loads of students are going to be writing dissertations on it and that kind of thing. And I'm really looking forward to reading all of those future dissertations about COVID. It'll be really interesting.
And it's really funny for the history books, really.
Yeah, it's going to be really interesting. Like, I can't wait to tell my children about it. But yeah, so going back to you then, why did you decide to get into the world of sustainability and the sustainability sector, and how did you get into that? I know you studied it at university, but how did you know you wanted to get into that as a job?
Yeah, so originally when I was going through school, I was pretty settled on medicine actually. So I went down a really different path. Geography and kind of environment stuff was always kind of a bit of a backup subject. It was something that I really kind of enjoyed and I was kind of quite good at throughout my school career. I then did really badly on my A levels. I think I failed my A level maths about 3 times. But kind of when I was studying geography and kind of environmental stuff, that was where I kind of felt really safe. So I applied to Brighton, where I liked the look of the course and the campus, which was interesting because when I went to the open day, it was still being built. The Cochrane building, it was still being renovated.
Wow.
So yeah, I literally looked around the building site. And yeah, I just became really interested in like environmental processes and kind of how we as humans affect the environment. We do have a massive impact, kind of positive and negative. So yeah, I kind of went through that on my module choices, and yeah, it was kind of it's an interesting thing with kind of geography, because where I did a geography degree, actually, I looked at a lot more at kind of environmental stuff, so pollution and control, climate change, and that type of stuff. So normally people think of geography as rivers and volcanoes, and I actually didn't look at any of that throughout my after my first year. I moved totally away from all of that type of stuff, and that was kind of part of the reason behind my master's degree, kind of a bit of a rebrand of myself to environmental stuff.
Wow, that's really cool. Did you do anything while you were a student that like extracurricular stuff, or getting involved in volunteering that can enhance your CV and that kind of thing?
So yeah, one of the first things I did when I got to Brighton was pretty much get involved in the student union. I became a course rep in my first year.
Oh,
Yeah, I basically decided I was going to be giving feedback to my lecturers anyway, so I may as well have an actual role in the university. And I got quite engaged with the union. I was going to the union councils, which was the big meetings at the time. So I ran in the end of the year for election, became a school rep, and then it became a paid role in my 3rd year. So it really kind of developed as I kind of developed into the role as well. I also kind of got involved in a whole number of roles across the university. So I was a telephone interviewer for the destination of leavers from higher education survey, which is now graduate outcomes. I did a telephone fundraising. I was a student ambassador at some of the open days. I became a student reviewer on some of the curriculum design review stuff, which was looking at parity of assessment across the university, kind of introducing 20 credit modules across the board. And that was kind of really interesting. Again, you got to see how a university actually worked really behind the scenes. And I was also on the project board, which was chaired by the Provost Chancellor for Education and Student Experience, which was really good. Kind of you're sitting on the board of the project which you're also working on. From a sustainability point of view, I volunteered as the Green Impact Auditor during my 2nd year, which was a scheme that Sea Change used to run across university. And that was kind of going into different departments and basically auditing them and seeing kind of what they were doing to um, improve their sustainability, be more sustainable, and reduce their impact on the environment. I went into the library, at Aldrich Library. There was a couple of the restaurants, one of the schools. So it was really interesting to see kind of across the board. And it showed that kind of after thought sustainability was kind of you have one person or a team in the university who's kind of doing it across the whole board. But actually, it's really kind of being sustainable is something that we can all kind of play a part in within the university. You know, students, whether you're staff, you know, in a restaurant, in a library, everybody's got an impact, and there's always ways that you can kind of improve that. And I guess outside of the university, I spent a year working for O2, selling phone contracts, which is quite good. I learned some good negotiation skills and kind of customer service stuff, kind of talk to people. And I also spent a year working at Longleat Safari Park, which was quite interesting. I worked in their guest engagement team, which was really fun. It's quite near my home. Yeah, so it was really kind of, it's good to kind of, I got a lot of experience within the university, but also outside of the university, and lots of things can kind of be applied.
That's amazing. I don't think a lot of students realise how much there actually is to get involved in. Like you're just an example of a student who's done so much. So do you have any tips to students who might want to get into the sustainable sector in some way?
Yeah, it's quite a good question. It's something that I think I'm probably still learning about myself. You know, there are really good job websites online which focus on jobs within the sector. You can use like LinkedIn. You can link up with people who are kind of working in the sector. So you maybe can get some advice from them. It's quite a competitive sector, so some of the roles get huge numbers of applicants. So acing your application and kind of really making sure you've got a whole load of experience is really, really, really good. And I think kind of picking up things like getting involved with sea change. For instance, at the university, they're always looking for volunteers, especially when we're on campus. And you can really get involved with things like the open week, not open days, sorry. You can get involved with travel week, green week, and really kind of being a sustainability ambassador. It shows that kind of commitment earlier on. And just kind of building up a whole load of experience, you know, really, really looking at getting involved with things like societies and that kind of extracurricular stuff. And I think just being kind of really, really persistent and actually remembering that sustainability is such a huge thing at the moment. You know, everybody is really kind of concerned about sustainability, and it's a really, really positive kind of sector. So there are more and more jobs kind of coming out all the time. More companies are looking at introducing sustainability professionals into their teams all of the time, because people are actually becoming more aware and actually thinking about what the companies they use, what the effect they have on the environment.
Yeah, that's amazing. So what's next for you then in the world of sustainability? Like what's the dream, the end goal?
It's quite a tough question. Again, it's been a really, really weird year. And obviously the sector is so fluid and changing. I think I'm just kind of focused at the minute of being kind of the best person and kind of the best professional and making sure I've got a lot of skills and kind of seeing where it takes me. I think it's quite important not to kind of look at where you're going to end up in if you go into sustainability, because as I said before, the sector is so fluid and dynamic. You don't know, what roles are going to be around 5 years from now. You know, organizations are kind of becoming more aware of their environmental impact, no matter how small. So, you know, you could have a really small impact or a huge impact. So there's no way of knowing what roles are going to be there. But we just know the roles will still be there because sustainability is always going to be an issue. I'm also kind of interested in doing a PhD, which is a totally like off the wall kind of thing. I've collaborated with researchers from the University of Brighton and industrial partners to look at how COVID has affected air quality in March. And it was really fun and really, really interesting. And it showed that kind of it was a really good way of using the stuff I learned throughout my degrees and applying it to kind of a really, really positive research. So we'll have to see whether that ever comes into play, as that could open up a whole other world of opportunities for me.
Yeah, that's so cool. And I feel like sustainability is quite a responsive thing as well. You know, when things happen, you respond to it quickly. Like, you know, like you said, there's always going to be work there.
Yeah, there's always kind of emerging impacts. So I think I said before how you've got things like in terms of air quality, as an example, there's been a lot of concern around PM 2.5, for instance, which is really small kind of particles, but they've got quite a diameter of about 2.5 micrometers. Nowadays, we're seeing more and more concern about the UFP, which is really, really fine particles. They can get into your bloodstream, they can get into your brain. It's kind of quite an emerging field of research. But kind of as we become more aware of those, actually, you might see roles kind of looking at how we can assess the impact of these really, really fine particles, because they do have a different impact. As I said, they can get into your brain, they can get into your lungs, they can get into your heart, and they can kind of cause real issues later on. So as we become more aware of different issues and different kind of impacts, there's just going to be more and more jobs coming out looking at different areas.
Yeah, definitely. Oh, that's really interesting. Yeah, thank you so much, Doug. This has been so interesting. And if people want to check out Sea Change or any social medias you have, I'll leave them below. Is there anything else other than Sea Change that you think would be beneficial? I know there's the Hedgehog campaign that students are involved in as well.
Yeah, I've been working with a group of ecologists, staff and students to roll out a hedgehog-friendly campus across the university. And we've actually just been informed we got bronze this year, so we've now a bronze certified campus. Yeah, they're on Facebook and Instagram. You can kind of follow them. They've got a blog as well. It's all on, there's loads of links from the Sea Change Facebook page. But yeah, it's a really, really positive campaign looking at how we can kind of improve biodiversity across the campus, not just protecting hedgehogs, which are a vulnerable species, but actually if you're introducing things like wildflower meadows, which are really good for hedgehogs, they're also really good for bees, butterflies, and other things which are actually really, really kind of at risk too. So yeah, do check out the Hedgehog Friendly Campus because they're really cool.
I love that. That's amazing. Oh, thank you so much, Doug. And I'll speak to you very soon. Thank you.